Hey, what's up? This is Shanti. FIFA the win. Back as we get ready for Game 7. This is going to be quite the battle. I think that just getting to this point with this series, with both of these teams, throw the records out, you know what I'm saying? Throw stats out in this game. Game 7 means whoever wants it more is basically going to win this game. When you look at this series as a whole, you look at Miami, coming out, winning the first two games in Boston was troubling. You know what I mean? If you're a Boston fan and you think to yourself, okay, we got the number 8 seed Miami Heat, and you would think that, okay, Boston's going to win the series. You know what I'm saying? I thought that, at the beginning. I'm pretty sure, a lot of the NBA landscape, casual NBA fans thought, you know what? Boston the better team. They should win this series. But, it's a big but. They got Jimmy Butler, man. Jimmy Butler has constantly knocked on the doorstep. He made it to the NBA Finals in the bubble. That year meant something in my book. Obviously the Lakers did win that final in the bubble. People try to say it wasn't, it was a tainted championship or whatever. Say whatever you want. But one of the two great performances that stood out from that whole bubble to me was the play of Jamal Murray, the Nuggets, which they lost, and the play of Jimmy Butler for the Heat. And they made it to the finals and lost. So I really do think that bubble meant something, you know what I'm saying? And it proving it again, it was just weird because all the four teams that made it, you know what I'm saying, the Final Four played at some point in that bubble. So those teams were, these teams were good. Boston seems like, making it to the finals last year, obviously didn't win. Jason Tatum wasn't at his best. You know what I'm saying? He showed that crunch time, JT had to work on late game decisions. You know what I'm saying? He was the best player on the floor at times, but at times he wasn't. He would disappear. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes Jaylen Brown, you could say he would be the best player. You know what I'm saying? Because Jason Tatum would kind of not be around in the latter stages of a game. But listen, Jason Tatum, I call him JT. He's been great. To get back in the series, I had somebody pointed out that I know the turnover situation. They said, oh, the turnovers is gonna be, the reason what does them in. And you know what? It's kind of right. If you look at, like I said, throw the stats out for Game 7, but the stats leading up to the first 6 games shows that Boston hasn't taken care of the ball, and they almost lost this series with the last game. You know what I'm saying? Because they didn't take care of the ball, especially down the stretch. You know what I mean? So I think that's an issue at the point guard position. If you're a Miami Heat fan, you say, listen, I'm gonna, our team's gonna load up. You know what I mean? And force them, in some uncomfortable sets and try to, duplicate, those turnovers that could cost in the game. You got to pull out all the stops. You know what I'm saying? Miami Heat have, Caleb Martin has been great. I just want to say this. I'm not trying to act like I knew who Caleb Martin was. I knew he played for Charlotte a couple years ago and kind of fell off the scene, you know what I'm saying, with me anyway, because I didn't think that the Hornets, they're obviously not that good of a team right now. And, Caleb Martin is something, the kid has put everybody on notice, at least for me. I can say that, I admit it. Caleb Martin can ball, man. He's been really good in this series. He was the reason why they're giving Miami fits, you know what I'm saying? The reason why you can go back and say, hey, at the first 6 games, because, Caleb Martin, he averaged just under 10 points a game, 5 rebounds, during the season. He's been way above that in this playoff. He's averaging over 20 points a game. He's had 20 points a game in the last. He had 21 in the loss, game 6. He followed that up win in Boston. The last one of the wins in Boston, game 3, he had 25. He had points of 18, 16, 14 points in all those games. The last 3 games, like I said, he showed up. They lost. It hasn't been him. Duncan Robinson's been the guy who was sort of finding his footing, hit some big shots, but he missed 2 crucial shots, I thought, that really put the Heat in a predicament. He had a wide open 3. Took his time and missed one, and then he shot one. I think it was later on down the line in the fourth quarter. So those couple open shots hurt Duncan. I think defensively he's got to not be a liability, but I think they're going to need both those guys tonight. Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson. Gabe Vincent is another guy. He was great. Gabe Vincent has been outstanding. Another guy that UC Santa Barbara. You kind of don't know too much about this kid, but he's made his mark in this playoff, in this season. I mean, it's not like, and give him credit. I mean, given the opportunity, Tyler Herro's not been there. Victor Oladipo's not been there for the Heat. And it's just a situation right now where, Gabe Vincent has shown that he can play in his 3rd season. Like I said, if you look at his stats, there's not much there. Point production, since 2019, he's averaged 2 points a game, and he averaged 4 points a game the next season. Last season, 8.7 started coming to his own. You know what I mean? So, this guy started 27 games, 2021. This year he started 34 games. So Gabe Vincent, he did miss a game. I remember earlier in this season, in this series, he missed 1 game. So they absolutely need him to play. The reason why they were winning these games, at the beginning, Miami, and rightfully so, ever since they beat the Bucks, man, they've been solid off the bench. You know what I'm saying? And if their bench can hold up, I think they got a chance tonight. You know what I'm saying? Given the fact that we're here, Eric Spoelstra is their coach. Jimmy Butler is their guy that's leading this team. That's the only reason why I give them a shot tonight. You know what I mean? I do think Boston's a better team. You know what I mean? I said that from the beginning. That's not, that's no hot take or anything like that. It's just Boston has a better roster. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. But now here we are. You know what I'm saying? Here we are, Game 7. I think that this game means way more to Boston than it has. I mean, if Miami loses this game, okay, it's not like, okay, Miami has a lot. And no disrespect. I mean, you could tell they're building on what they have. Bam Adebayo's been good in this series. I questioned him, before this series started. And listen, Bam Adebayo's been great. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy, I've always liked him, but it just seemed like he hasn't, his plays tapered way off. But this series, he's been ready to play, man. I give him credit. Bam Adebayo doing his thing out there. If you see Eric Spoelstra as the coach, you see what they have, you see what they're missing in their players right now with Tyler Herro and Oladipo, you figure, okay, Miami get another big, maybe that could, play behind Bam. Kevin Love's been spot. You wonder how long he's going to be out there. Maybe next year he might not be there. Miami has a nice building block. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy Butler wants to win. It seems like he likes it there. So if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world if Boston loses. But if Boston loses this game, I think Boston, it could be a lot of changes, man. Who knows if Joe Mazzulla winds up being the coach still with this team. You know what I'm saying? Because, Boston, they're expected to win, man, period. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of, how they get there, if they win Game 7, I think it's a sigh of relief for everybody in the organization because they got to make decisions. Now, saying that they want to get rid of Jaylen Brown like last year. There was rumors trading him. I never understood that. I would never understand why you would trade Jaylen Brown. I get it. Both guys are going to command a lot of money, him and Jason Tatum. You got to figure out, work that situation out because that's going to be, you would think Jaylen Brown wants to get paid, man. You know what I'm saying? And he's a guy that may not be in Boston. You know what I'm saying? If that's the situation. Jason Tatum, like I said, people will question him, as a leader, as a legit leader if they lose this game. And he's one of my favorite players. So hopefully he could find a way to win game. It's not going to be easy. I woke up this morning saying, you know what? I think Boston going to win this thing by double digits, but I don't know, man. I can't put confidence in saying that they're going to win by 30. I think Boston will win the game tonight, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people may say. You listen to the national pundits and everybody's giving their prediction. Everybody's picking Boston. I think I've seen all day long, on this Memorial Day that, most of the experts are going Boston. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see if Boston answer the bell. They haven't done. They're 5-5 at home during the postseason, which it ain't that great, to win 50% of your games right now in the postseason. So they got to get it together in their home court. I truly expect Miami to hang in there for a little while. I could see a scenario where this game is close at the start, halftime, in the second half. I think Boston blows this thing open. That could happen too. I just look for guys like, and then look at Grant Williams. Grant Williams is a guy that's been instituted back into for some strange reason he wasn't playing. And everybody said he poked a bear by getting in Jimmy Butler's face, which that was pretty funny. He did, and I wonder. You don't want to give Jimmy Butler any added fuel for anything, so I don't think that was the smartest move. But listen, Grant Williams, this kid was a first-round draft pick, man. 2019, from Tennessee, 6'6", 236, a big load of a guy, thick. I think that Grant Williams is a guy instituted in this lineup. I think Joe Mazzulla, that's the one thing he's done in this series. I think that changed it, because he wasn't playing. All I know, for whatever reason, he wasn't playing at the beginning of the series. So now that's a guy that you can shoot the three. He can play defense. He's rugged, tough. Sort of like a clone of Marcus Smart. But Marcus Smart is a guard. But Grant Williams, same thing. Not hella athletic. Not a great passer, physicality. But Grant Williams is a guy. Just like every guy in this series seems like they lack things like physicality wise, but it still wind up being, that's when two teams meet like this that has a lot of players that are similar, that are interchangeable, both on the bench, starting lineup. That's what you make of. That's what you come up with in Game 7. These teams got history, okay? Last year, they were here in this same situation at a Game 7. You know what I'm saying? And Boston, they always live by the edge with these Game 7s. They've been 3-0. They're 3-0 the last couple of years in Game 7. So I see them winning. I think the best part about this whole thing is they got home court and Game 7. Usually you can point towards the home team in the Game 7. But this, like I said, you can throw everything out. As far as the record, as far as the seeds, this is just one game. Who's going to win this game? You know what I mean? Period. Like I said, Grant Williams, Robert Williams has been great. That guy, he is just another important guy that the Celtics need out there, man. You know what I'm saying? If they're going to win this series, and continue on and go to the NBA Finals, They need something out of Robert Williams, you know what I'm saying, which he can give. He's been a spark plug. Another guy 6'9", can defend, down post. That's why I like the guy so much. I think he's a guy, he get rebounds, you know what I'm saying, can block some shots, can pose a bit of a problem. Look for him, you know what I'm saying. Derek White is another guy the Celtics have, 6'4". Derek White has been a guy, I remember him playing for the Spurs a little early in his career. came to Boston maybe a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And Derek White has been their MVP. I mean, not MVP, but I would say unsung hero. You know what I'm saying? If you had to give an award to somebody for maybe not being MVP of your team, but you know what? This is a guy. If Derek White wasn't playing in this Game 7, I would say Boston can't win it. You know what I'm saying? They need Derek White to play. You know what I'm saying? He's been that important to this team since he got there, to me. And obviously getting in that and winning at the buzzer in Game 6. That from the start of that play, if you go back and look at the tape of that game, the tape of that last play, Derek White was absolutely in the corner for corner 3. On that shot by Marcus Smart, he sprinted to to the backboard, crashed the board, even though no one put a body on him. You know what I'm saying? You see Max Strus that totally had his back turned, but, Derek White did, sneak in there and had the presence of mind to tip that ball in, before the buzzer sound. So, for everybody saying it was luck, no, everything kind of had to go right. You know what I'm saying? Derek White did everything right for the Celtics, and they need to be, and they was thanking him, and they realized how, how much, how many times do we see in whatever sport, you see a player that's not concentrating, that doesn't make the right play under pressure. And, in the NBA, it's about execution, especially like in the last minute or two of a game. And I think Derek White, it wasn't he didn't come off a pick and roll screen. He didn't dribble to the corner and then dribble behind his back and take it to the hole, stuff like that. He didn't make just a spin move to the whole ESPN style. But what he did was he got, he realized the situation and got to the basket. You know what I'm saying? Good things happen when you can get to the basket. When you can get a rebound in a key situation. And that's why we play 48 minutes. That's why you have, teammates. That's why you have plays that are ran, and then everybody, and I'm a big proponent in whatever sport. Be where you're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? In that case, Derek White, I always say be in the right spot, and he was in the right spot. Malcolm Brogdon, I'm really thinking Malcolm Brogdon's going to be the difference tonight, because he was a guy that didn't play in the last game. He's been sporadic, not that I think he's going to score 30 out there, but that's another guy like Derek White. I mean, when he's on and when he's engaged, it's going to be hard for Miami to win, man, because you just look at, we haven't even mentioned Marcus Smart yet. We haven't mentioned Jaylen Brown yet. And, Jaylen Brown's a guy, he's a superstar, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's another guy Miami's going to have to account for. So, when you list all these guys and when you look at the rosters and you still say Boston, why they in this situation? I just think more so than Jimmy Butler's on the other side, and the bench of Miami just really came through it and caused problems. Like I said, Caleb Martin had 2 good games in Boston, and Gabe Vincent then flipped the series, man. Kevin Love, spot duties, played great. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Love's another guy. Experience, won a championship. He's a true veteran of this league. Another guy, Miami can hang their hat on. It's going to be interesting. Like I said, I don't think no one's going to be, this moment's not going to be too big for anybody, because both of these teams know each other. They've been in Game 7s. Both teams have been, to the finals in the last 6 or 7 seasons. So it's nothing, Eric Spoelstra is a hell of a coach. You know what I mean? Already people are talking about, a couple of his guys on his coaching staff, maybe getting interviews to get head coaching jobs. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the Pistons, maybe Chris Quinn is a guy that the Pistons hire next too. We'll talk about that, coming up as the season ends and going into, off season, everything, free agency. But tonight, good game on tap, man. Great game on tap. Game 7. How can you, as a fan, not get pumped for this game? Like I said, I don't have a bunch of stats tonight because I don't think it's going to be stats don't mean nothing in a Game 7. You know what I'm saying? It's just who's ever going to win this thing, who's ever going to take this thing, who's ever going to take advantage. You know what I'm saying? I think it will be tight first half. I think that Boston's a better team. They're going to win this thing. I think the first time we're going to see some history, first time a team has ever won being down after being down 3 games to none. It's never happened. Game 7 has been forced, I think, 4 times. The last one I remember vividly, it was the Mavericks played the Blazers, and you know Dallas got up 3 games to none. Portland won the next 3, forced the game 7, but they lost. You know what I'm saying? Dallas still wound up winning the series. That's the last one that I can remember. I think it might have been 2004, 2003, something like that. But this is a different animal here. You know what I mean? The home team's got the advantage, got the momentum. Sometimes I say, I say it a lot that things don't carry over from game to game. In this situation, I think it may hold true again. I don't think that. I think Miami's tough enough where they've already erased that game out of there. You have to. If they didn't, they're going to lose tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's shown that they're mentally strong enough where they can still come back after a game like that. So, we've seen devastating loss. Here in Detroit. I can remember vividly. It was in the finals though, with Pistons up on San Antonio Spurs. Every video I do always reverts back to Detroit, to the Pistons in some way. But I can remember in 05, man, you know what I'm saying, on the Pistons, series on the line here in Detroit, and Pistons lead Robert Horry in the corner. Dagger three-pointer. Spurs go on to win game 5, if I can remember this correctly. If I'm wrong, somebody correct me, but Pistons lose that game, go down 3 games to 2. The next 2 games at that time, I know the series was 2-3-2, where the first 2 games would be on the home courts for the who's ever got home court. Then the next 3, and then the last 2 would be in home court. So the Spurs had home court in that series in 05. I can't remember if I remember correctly. 05 finals. After that Robert Horry shot, Pistons, they didn't mail it in. They could have easily packed it in after a devastating loss like that, giving up big shot Bob, a corner 3. Pistons won game 6 in San Antonio and forced a game 7. And I remember we wound up losing game 7. I just say that to say, when you have a devastating loss and you got a team that's been together, that's mentally tough, like Miami, a loss is not, losing on a tip-in layup is not going to deter them from going out in game 7 and winning the game. You know what I mean? That's the only point I'm trying to make. So when you see this game, sit back and relax and enjoy it, because you don't get a lot of game 7s in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of teams bow out, you know what I'm saying, after, if they're down 3-1. Usually the scenario we see, if a team is down 3 games to 1, and game 5, is coming up, especially on another team's home court, the team that's up, the series is over, man. You know what I'm saying? And usually over in 5 games, you know what I'm saying? This one, Boston fought back. You know what I'm saying? Boston fought back. They could have easily just packed it in and got swept, and they did. And I think the biggest key everybody can learn from is just win 1 game. You know what I mean? When you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you can think that way and say, hey, all we have to do is win 1 game. You know what I mean? And then in the back of your mind, you say, if Boston does get behind and then they can play and win, what was everybody saying? Well, if they win and make it 3-1 and make it 3-2, they have game 7 at home. So now this is the advantage of being a number 2 team in the Eastern Conference. You have a game 7. Regardless of how you got there, I still think Boston's got the advantage. You know what I'm saying? Right now they do, because this game is on their home court. If this game was in Miami, it might be a different story. You know what I mean? Might not be as confident, but I don't have a horse in the race. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know me, I'm Detroit all the way. So, but I do objectively, I like Jason Tatum. I like Jaylen Brown together. I like when teams stay together. You know what I'm saying? And these guys are relatively stayed together, hasn't switched teams. You know what I'm saying? That type of thing. And credit Brad Stevens, you know what I'm saying, for going up to the front office and seems like he stepped in right after Danny Ainge, you know what I'm saying, and kept this thing going, whether you're a Celtics fan or not. You got to give him credit for that. So it's going to be interesting. Head coach Joe Mazzulla, I think he's learned on the job this year. He's done an admirable job, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't think the guy, if he loses tonight, that you fire him and get rid of him. I don't know if anybody else is better than him out there. You know what I mean? It probably is, but it's a lot of teams that's waiting. Pistons naming is another team looking for a head coach. You know what I'm saying? So you could see he's made some mistakes, but I think that getting his team, it's something to be said for a team that was down 0-3 and now they're back in this thing. Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes from the coach and the players. But the coaching's got a little bit to do with it too. You know what I mean? In my opinion. So look out for Game 7 tonight. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart. Defining moment for these guys, man. These guys have been together. They've been together for some years. Made it to the finals last year, didn't win it. You know what I'm saying? Now, just to be fair, whoever makes it to the finals, I think Denver's a better team. Better than both these teams. You know what I'm saying? Denver's a machine over there. So they're gonna have to be ready. Whoever wins tonight, I think it's gonna be Boston. But if Miami somehow wins, they're gonna have to be ready. You have to deal with that altitude in Denver. Juggernaut. Denver's been off for over a week, at least a week now, I can remember. So they're going to have their work cut out, but tonight's going to be fun. You know what I'm saying? Memorial Day. We do get a Game 7. We get a game to watch tonight, so it's going to be good. Embrace it. Look for Boston to pull away in the second half. I think that's what's going to happen. Look for Jimmy Buckets to be Jimmy Buckets. And with that, I just want to say peace, y'all. Enjoy Game 7.